Welcome to my coding school. In this video, we are going to continue with CSS. So to start with, go to this website called code.visualstudio.com, and then download this text editor. It's the one we are going to use to write our code. After that, open it up and then create a file. Simply go to the file explorer, then click this icon, new file, and then create an index.html file. Then after that, you can simply press shift and 1 and then tab. It will generate this markup, and then here what I'll do is I'll change this to CSS, the title, and then an h1 with CSS series, like so. So here, if I refresh, I will see that now we have this heading. So here, what I've done is created an index.html file on the left, and then I have opened an integrated browser on the right. So this is where we are going to view the things that we are going to be writing on this side. And one thing that I want to show you are the extensions that I'm using. So here I have live server, which will help me to refresh the page every time I make changes, and then prettier, which is an extension that formats code so that it becomes more readable. So these are two extensions that you will need. And then for the theme, I'm using GitHub themes, and for this, it's simply the default. So if you want to, you can come to the extension store and then simply write in live server or prettier or GitHub themes, and then you can install them. And then with that, one thing that I want you to be aware of is you should have a basic knowledge of HTML, which is a language that we use to style, to structure the content of the web page. So here there are three ways of adding CSS to an HTML file, and one way is to use a style attribute like this, and then you specify the property. Here I'll use color as the property, and then the value I'll use red. So here what I'm doing is I'm adding in this style attribute, which is called inline styling, and then I'm getting the color property, and then I'm changing it to red. So by default, every browser has the default styling for an element. So this is an H1, it's bold and it's a little bit bigger. So when I save, you'll see that the text becomes red. So this is inline styling. This is not very recommended because it's difficult to maintain. If you add very many pages to style, you have to modify the code in 10 different places. So here, I'll get rid of this code, and then we'll look at another way, which is called internal CSS. So here, in the head, I'll put in style like this, and then I'll put in a CS selector, an H1. So I'm selecting an H1, and then a decoration block, and then the property, which is color. And then this time I'll make it orange like this. If I save, you'll see now that the text becomes orange. So this is the second way. And then the third way is to create an external CSS file. So here, new file, I'll put in style.css. And here, what I'll do is I'll remove this tag, and then I'll put in a new tag called a link, and then rel. I'll put in style sheet, and then the href like this, and then I'll point to the file that I want, and then like this. So if you can't remember all of this, you can simply write link and then look for a link CSS, and then this will generate for you this tag, which takes in the rel, which is style sheet, meaning that the relationship between the HTML file and the CSS file here, and then the href is simply a location to the file that we shall use. So here, by default, it will bring style.css, but if your file has a different name, you can simply click, you can simply press the dot and then the forward slash if it's in the current directory, and then you have your file. So here, I'll do this, and what I'll do is I'll come to this very file, and then I'll target the h1, and then the declaration block, then the property, and then the value. This time I'll use blue. So here, called style.css, then save here, and then you'll see that our text becomes blue. So these are the three ways that we can use to add CSS to an HTML file. The first one is inline styling, which is not very recommended because it's hard to maintain. The next is internal CSS, which is used if you have just one page. And then we have external CSS, which you can use if you have multiple pages. And this is what I want to illustrate. So here, I can create a new file called about.html like this. And then I'll press Shift and 1 tab, and then I'll get this markup. And then what I'll do here is put in an h1 called a contact page, and then I'll save. And then what I'll do is add in the same link, and then if I save, and then I go into the the browser and then change the page to about, you'll see now that also the contact page is also blue. So this external CSS is used to sell two pages with just one file. So this is a better way. So that's how we add CSS to a file. And then here I want to show you something called the CSS rule. So here the H1 is called a selector, and this one is an element type selector. And then these curly brackets tell us that this is a declaration block, and then the color is a property, and then blue is the value. So every CSS property has a value, and then it has a selector, and then the declaration block. So we are going to look at the different types of selectors in the next video.